What if I told you the US Army helped win one of the biggest global conflicts without a single battlefield, without tanks rolling and without any direct shots fired? This wasn't luck. This was strategy powerful, silent, psychological, and economic warfare that crushed the Soviet Union from the inside. Today, you're about to uncover the real Cold War victory that most Americans never learned in school. Welcome back to Historica A.I, the channel where America's most powerful military stories come alive. If you love U.S. war history, Cold War secrets, and real events that shaped our world, make sure you watch till the end because this story is one of America's smartest victories ever. The Cold War wasn't fought on traditional battlefields. There were no D-Day landings, no trench assaults, no naval invasions. Instead, it was a war of fear, pressure, intelligence, and military buildup. And in this silent battlefield, the U.S. Army became America's most powerful weapon. The Soviet Union believed the U.S. Army was preparing for a massive offensive at any moment, and that fear drained their economy and stretched their resources thin. So how did they do it? The U.S. Army used a strategy called deterrence. This meant, we are so strong you will never dare to fight us. America didn't need to fight. The Soviet generals simply couldn't match the U.S. military's readiness, technology, or mobility. The U.S. Army had more advanced nuclear delivery systems, faster global deployment capabilities, better trained soldiers, strategic bases across Europe, and strong alliances like NATO. This forced the Soviet Union to spend money it didn't have, and the pressure crushed them. One of the craziest U.S. Army intelligence missions was Operation Gold. American intelligence officers dug a secret tunnel under Berlin, all the way to Soviet communication lines. They listened to Soviet military conversations for months, gaining priceless intelligence without firing a shot. The Soviets had no idea how deeply the U.S. Army was inside their system, hearing their every move. Berlin was the front line of the Cold War, even without fighting. At one point, American tanks stood nose to nose with Soviet tanks. Every soldier knew that even a single bullet could start World War III, but the U.S. Army stood confident, calm, and unshakable. The Soviets backed down again, because the U.S. Army wasn't just prepared to fight, it was prepared to win instantly. While the Soviets were focused on building massive armies, the U.S. Army focused on innovation. We're talking guided missiles, satellites, high-tech surveillance, precision weapons, and nuclear-capable aircraft. This terrified the USSR. Every new American invention forced the Soviets to spend billions just to try and keep up. Their economy started to break. Their military budget exploded beyond control. America didn't need a war. The U.S. Army's innovation became the weapon. And while the Soviets stood mostly alone, the U.S. Army had NATO. Multiple Western countries were unified behind the American military. To the Soviets, the math was simple. Fighting the U.S. Army meant fighting all of Europe. It was a war they just couldn't win. But the real genius was the psychological warfare. The U.S. Army's message was clear: we're ready whenever you are. Massive military exercises, sudden troop deployments, and advanced weapon demonstrations kept the USSR constantly on edge. The Soviets lived in constant fear of U.S. military capabilities. Fear became a weapon, and America used it brilliantly. Finally, in the 1980s, the Soviet economy collapsed under the immense military pressure. They couldn't keep up with the U.S. Army or with American technology. With no money, with no allies, and with no chance of winning, the Soviet Union fractured. Not because America invaded, but because America out-strategized them. The U.S. Army won without fighting. If you enjoyed this breakdown of America's silent victory, make sure to subscribe to Historica A.I for more powerful stories from U.S. war history. Drop a comment below. Cold War victory to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the strongest victories are the ones fought without a single shot.